This, as you say, will be a bit of a mouthful. Trust and clarity in communication, the limbo state, colon, what it is and how to use it. You will, I ask, excuse me if I am a little bit long-winded this evening, but these things require a little bit of clarification and redefinition. Now that many of you are going through the types of changes that you are going through, now that you are experiencing different levels of energy within your consciousness, we can now define in ways that we have not defined them before some of the terminologies that we have used in our discussions with you in the past, so that you will have perhaps a more precise insight into what we meant when we used certain terminologies. For always, always, always understand there are many levels, many dimensions, many different points of view to the semantics of any particular definition or word that we may use in your language, which may not necessarily be accurately representative of the way we mean the terminology when we use it. So let us first talk about the idea of trust and clarity in communication. One of the primary, shall we say, problems or difficulties that we have observed in your civilization has to do simply with the communication between yourselves, as to why there are many negative feelings, negative interactions, negative outcomes. A lot of it is simply hinged not so much on the idea that there actually is an insurmountable problem, but simply that your ability to communicate the idea is not necessarily as effective as it could be, not as direct, not as honest as it could be, because you have in the past created yourself to be a society that has, in a sense, cloaked itself in so many layers of consciousness, so many layers of interpretation and symbology. Individuals, whether they use the same words or not, do not always obviously understand what another individual means by what they say. We simply herewith put forth a simple suggestion, and it has to do with trust, trusting that you, each and every one of you, are only attracting into your experiential reality those interactions which do benefit to you, and are attracting yourself to other individuals in such a way that you do benefit to them. In trusting that this is the foundational reason for why you find yourself interacting, for why you find yourself communicating with anyone, you can use the following approach, which may allow a little more clarity to take place in your conversations in the future. If you can allow yourselves to know, to trust that the other individual always has the best intention going into the conversation, then you can assist them in clarifying what they mean. You can assist yourself and allow them to assist you and themselves in clarifying what you mean. If you simply take it for granted that what they say, no matter how it may sound to what you have been taught, what they say is meant in the best possible way. So that if something for some reason sounds, shall we say, strange, off-kilter, or funny to you, or perhaps negative to you, perhaps you can stop the conversation and simply suggest, now I trust that you had the best of intentions and the most positive intention behind what it is you are saying. Therefore, I know that even though I heard it this way, perhaps, just maybe, you meant this. Is that what you meant? Oh yes, that's what I meant. Thank you for clarifying that so we would not have a misunderstanding. Always, it is our suggestion, go for the trust of the intention behind what is said, rather than allowing yourself to be marionetted around by the words as they sound, as you have been taught to think they sound, what you have been taught to think they mean. Find out what they really do mean by shooting, as you say, aiming, as you say, for the intention of the communication rather than the clothing in which the communication is wrapped. Do not react to the clothing. Allow yourself to search, to seek the intention itself. Assist another individual by letting them know what they have said does to you, how you are reacting. Let them know how you are interpreting what they say, and ask them if they truly meant that, or if they truly meant something else. Allow yourself to develop a commonality of trust based on your understanding that every individual, no matter how they approach it, no matter how they cloak it, no matter where they come from nor when, generally speaking, in some portion of their consciousness, intends that what they have to share can be used constructively, can be used to add to the overall creativity of your combined reality. Beginning to approach it from that point of view will allow you very quickly to discern the intention behind the communication, to know whether it is truly positive or negative, and to allow you less misunderstanding, so that you will not be so offended by the different portions of your consciousness that you are afraid to face. The different portions of your consciousness that you fear that may have been brought to the surface by something someone said, simply because it was reflected in a certain way, because a certain nuance was given that was not necessarily representative of what that individual meant, but perhaps is what you needed to hear so that you could face that certain portion of yourself now that it has been brought to the surface by that particular nuance. Allow yourself always to understand that any conversation you are having with someone else is an echo of the things that you are only telling yourself you need to hear in many different ways. Examine and explore them, unconditionally, unbiased in that way, openly, trusting that what you are attracting, in some way, shape, or form, has an intention behind it that matches your own. The overall intention of the support and the added accelerated creativity of your entire civilization. Just a suggestion. Now, the limbo state, what it is and how we use it. We have discussed this idea of a limbo state many times with you. Generally, in the conversations that we have had, most individuals will assume that when we say limbo state, what we are referring to is that time or those times in your life when it seems you have done all you can possibly do, and now you are floating. You are at, as you say, stalemate. No particular direction makes itself more apparent than any other direction. You do not necessarily have a particular momentum or an impetus to move in any one particular way more than another. You seem to be at a standstill. For one reason or another, sometimes you cannot necessarily fathom the reason. Sometimes you think you can. Sometimes you don't want to know. But the idea of the limbo state has a more precise and, in a sense, a much more profound definition that we have up to this point not necessarily shared with you. We will do so now. The idea, generally, as we perceive your consciousness, has been perceived as meaning thus: a state in which you must now wait for something to happen, having done all you can possibly do, and there is no more you can do. Now you are floating in a limbo state to see what falls out of all the things you have set up. You are now, in a sense, coasting. All right, all of these are, shall we say, real definitions, but they do not touch the essence, the mechanics, the structure of what that waiting is all about. The idea can perhaps be best explained by going back to another analogy that we have discussed many times, and that is simply called the film strip analogy. We have talked about the idea that different moments in time are discrete, as your scientists say, quantized. That is, every single moment is its own now universe, and the next moment is a completely different reality altogether. And whatever it is at any given moment that you decide you are will utterly determine what the next moment will be shaped like, in a sense. How you will experience that next moment. And one moment does not have to be connected to the next until you impose upon that frame and upon that entire the idea that there must be continuity, one leading to the other. We have talked about the idea that your life and your many lives are like the frames upon a strip of your film. One frame at a time, one life at a time. In linear time, it seems they come one after another, but that's the nature of your physical reality. From the point of view of the projectionist, shall we say, hypothetically, all the frames exist right now. Your entire life is there all at once. All your lives, all the frames are there all at once. And from the point of view of the hypothetical projectionist, which is the same as your higher self, your oversoul, any frame can be viewed at any moment in any order, regardless of the way you think you have to view it in linear time, A to Z. Doesn't have to be that way. Now, this idea of the limbo state can be looked at two ways. Again, the negative way, and of course the positive way, just as anything can be looked at from one side or the other. The way we have perceived that your society generally has interpreted what we meant by limbo state is the negative idea, and this is not meant as a derogatory statement. Simply that. The negative way to look at this is to view the following analogy. Let us say you are looking at your life as a strip of film running through the projector and playing out on the screen at a certain speed. Most of you, when you talk about the standstill limbo state, when things do not seem to be happening, usually look at this as the product of the film somehow slowing down, going into a static state, when all of a sudden you are focused on one frame, and you don't know when the film is going to start up again. The idea of looking at the limbo state as if your life has slowed down, in a sense, is the negative way to look at it. Let's look at it from the positive point of view, because understand, you will get the same effect, the focus on one apparent moment, the now moment. If you understand that the film is still going at high speed, but that you have accelerated. Your ability to perceive the frames has accelerated and sped up to match the speed of the film. You are now going as fast as the film. It is what you call in your reality a stroboscopic effect. You have, many of you, seen the idea that when something is moving, such as falling water, and you place a strobe light upon it, you can freeze the action and allow one drop of that falling water to seem to remain suspended in the air before you. In a sense, this is what many of you are now doing. You are accelerating your perceptive abilities up to the speed of your creations. And so it seems as if things are standing still. Seems as if they have slowed down and nothing is happening. But understand, there is a very profound difference in how you look at this. Because if you look at it as if your life is slowed down, if the film is slowed down, then you usually wait around for something to happen and do not take action, do not move in your life. However, if you understand that the only reason things seem to be standing still is because you have simply caught up to the speed of your creation, then you can understand that that point of view is now a point of power, because you are in perfect equilibrium with the rate that you are creating your reality. And what this means is as follows. When you are in perfect equilibrium with the rate, the speed at which you are creating your reality moment by moment by moment by moment, then that means that everything around you is moving at the same rate, and that means that inertia is balanced, and nothing has more ability or less ability to be moved by you in the direction you prefer. They all have the same rate of speed. You are all moving parallel, synchronized to each other, and therefore there is no great inertia to overcome, because your motion relative to each other, you and the events in your life, are now moving at the same pace, and you can gently push them in any direction you want to. This, in a sense, is the quote-unquote secret of what you call your martial arts. What you call a master of the martial arts will tell you, basically, that the reason that a small, seemingly weak person can move a seemingly stronger, large person in any direction they want to is that at one particular moment, in the action of the movement of the large person toward the smaller one matches the speed of the larger person, and at that moment they are exactly equal in inertia. At that moment, no one is moving relative to the other person, and therefore it is a very simple thing to allow that person to move in any direction the smaller person wishes to, because there is nothing to overcome. No mass, no momentum to overcome. Everything is moving at the same pace and can interact with each other any way they want to. So this limbo state, this time of seeming standstill now, when it seems as if you have done all you can do, is actually the time when things can happen most magically, most quickly. And the only reason it may not seem to be doing so is because you're standing there waiting for something to happen. Allow yourself to begin to look at the limbo state from this point of view. Truly see your point of power. Understand that you are simply now pacing, simply synchronizing the rate, the literal rate at which your consciousness is creating the moments of your reality. Each and every moment is a discrete moment, a discrete definition, a discrete reality. They all flicker one after another at an astonishing rate, so fast it seems to be. Your physical reality seems to be an unbroken continuum of time. But it isn't. It is discrete moments, discrete definitions. And when you find you are floating in that limbo state, you are at the point of power to allow any factor, any event in your reality to move in the direction and in the style you prefer it to. All you have to do when you arrive at that point is act in the direction you prefer to. Act in the manner you prefer to. Act as the representation of the reality you prefer to have. Things will happen synchronistically in your life immediately, falling into place immediately. The only thing that would cause you to hesitate is perhaps, and I do not say this to set you up, the only thing that would cause you to hesitate is perhaps when you see that when you're at that state, it is so easy to create the reality you want that some of you may be afraid of the power you finally realize you have and back off a bit from it. Because you will realize in that moment how powerful you actually are. The creation of your day-to-day reality is second nature to you. You are so powerful in doing it that you have been able to forget that you are the creators of that experiential reality. That's how easy it comes to you. It is so easy that you've been able to overlook that you are responsible for the creation of that reality. It comes so easily. Every single second, every single moment, you are exercising choice of what you believe is the most likely reality to manifest in that moment. Every single moment. That's how powerful you are. When you allow yourself to begin to match the rate at which you are creating that reality, you will feel like you are standing still, because you are traveling at infinite speeds. And when you move at infinite speeds, you are everywhere at once. And when you're everywhere at once, it's like you're standing perfectly still. Because the only way you get a sense of the motion is when you have a relative measurement between your reality and what you are calling another reality. If you know all realities, all events, all creations are equal to you because they come from you, when you allow them to all achieve that equilibrium, then you're all, shall we say, falling at the same rate. Nothing moves faster, nothing moves slower, and you can move the pieces around effortlessly because they're all gliding. All together, one event, one idea. And you begin to see all the events in your life truly as extensions of yourself. And I am not speaking figuratively, I am not speaking philosophically. I am speaking physically, mechanically, literally. You are the creators of your reality. The limbo state, what you have called the limbo state, is your point of power. It is living in the present, in the now. You are, shall I say, allegorically, about that far away from having everything you want. All you have to do is go that extra little step. And of course, for many of you, and again, not to set you up, that last little step is the most difficult. Because, simply, you have been taught over and over and over and over again, it can't be that easy. I can't be that powerful. But you are, because you are aspects and reflections of creation. You are made in the image of God. To be made in that image is to be an echo of God. And in that sense, you are that powerful. You are creation itself. You are, in that sense, the dreams of God, the hands of God, the instruments, the tools, as all beings in creation are. You are, as well as we are, all the different ways that the creation has of expressing itself within the creation it is. It is your nature. It is the very fabric of your existence to be the power itself. You do not have to develop a swollen ego to recognize that. You can allow yourself to be at balance with all things, and to still at the same time know that because you are at balance with all things, everything is an extension of you and will move in the direction that you allow it to. Because you say so. Because that's your job. As aspects of the infinite, in a sense, to put this colloquially, you are given the responsibility to create your immediate reality in the fashion you desire. That's why you have free will. Just as a side note, and just referring to some conversations that we have had with a few of you from time to time, and again, in no way are we, in your vernacular, putting anyone down, but it seems quite contradictory to us that there are members of your society who insist that creation instilled free will within you, and then should at the same time seek to control your lives with its will. You have free will because you have complete and utter free will. You can create any reality you desire. That is being made in the image of God. Act as such, and you will have heaven on your earth. Guaranteed. Remember, the present is your point of power. And in the limbo state, you are not waiting. You are not at a standstill. You are at infinite speeds. Move in the direction you prefer, and all will automatically, synchronistically fall into place. I guarantee it. And you will have a life of ecstasy. And remember, there is no such thing as something that is too good to be true or too good to last. Ecstasy is what you are made of. It is the highest energy of creation, reflected and represented through your physical form. Live as it, because you are made of living life. You are ecstasy itself. Of this, our civilization has no doubt. And once again, we simply remind you, because we love you, that no matter what you choose to think of yourselves, we will always believe in you. You can create any reality you desire, and we will be with you no matter what type of reality you choose to create. But the type of reality you choose to create will determine exactly how we are able to interact with you. Not that interaction with us is the most important thing in your lives. You are the most important thing in your lives. It is simply that as you recognize that you can serve each other and create a reality of joy, then you open to us the invitation that is necessary for us to have from you, so that we can interact with you and together blend our race and your race into a larger civilization that can continue to explore creation in ecstatic ways forever. For there is no end to it, at least no end that we have ever found in the thousands of years of the thousands of civilizations that have explored creation. There has never been found even the minutest inkling of an end. As far as we are concerned, there never will be. And we rejoice in any opportunity that you will give us to share creation with you. But only if you are willing to be fully who and what you truly are. For if you are not, then it is not with you that we will be interacting. but only with your idea of what you think you ought to be. Only with your own illusions and perhaps delusions of self. We prefer, in your terminology, the genuine article. Because we know the genuine article of you are creative beings, spontaneous beings, loving beings, that can create anything they desire, including heaven on earth. We thank you for allowing us to run off at the mouth this way. Or shall I say, allowing me to run off at the channel's mouth. In return for the gift that you have given us, allowing us to share and taste of your consciousness, in return for that loving gift, I will ask you now, in what way may I be of service to you? Begin sharing, so that all may share as well. Good day to you.
Yes, everyone, please speak up, every speaker.
Shivai. Shivai. One moment. Shivai is a word in our ancient language which we no longer use, the language that is. And Shivai simply represents the principle that you would perhaps most colloquially boil down to saying, go for it. The idea simply is that in our civilization, when an individual had a focus, had a dream, they did not allow themselves to allow anything to stop them. They went straight ahead, moved straight ahead, as what you would call in a warrior way, with clear vision, clear intention, clear direction. And if there seemed to be a situation where they needed, as you would say, perhaps some space to be who they were, then the individual that was on that particular path would simply at that moment say, Shivai, and all other beings would stand out of the way to allow them the broadest and clearest possible path to reach and attain the goal they desire. So Shivai, continue.
I'd also like to say that it works in our